topic has come up over and over again in a lot of my Feng Shui consultations, and I just want to make it clear for you guys, okay? If you're not able to put water features in your home, do not worry. There are other ways to activate for money. Now, those of you who are not familiar with me, you're like, who is this chick, right? Why is she talking about Feng Shui? I am the founder of Feng Shui and Prosper. I've been a classical Feng Shui consultant for actually more than 8 years now. And I am trained, I'm the 6th generation disciple of the Tan Yang Wu School of Feng Shui. What does all that gobbledygook mean? It means the way that I'm trained in doing Feng Shui is the way it was meant to be done. It's the classical way. So a lot of the things that, a lot of the Feng Shui information that you're seeing in books that are online, especially the free stuff, I would say 95% of them are BS. I am so sorry to have to break that news to you. And part of that huge Feng Shui super myth is the idea that in order to activate for money, you put a fountain in the southeast corner, because, you know, a lot of the mainstream Feng Shui information out there says the southeast corner is the universal money corner. Now, those of you who have followed me for a while, you know the southeast is not always the money corner for you. And by the way, it's not just one money corner. All spaces actually have 3 money corners, and in fact, some spaces actually have a little 4th money corner. It really depends on the period that you're in, depends on the facing of the house. Now, I've recently done a couple of, you know, fairly big project Feng Shui consultations where my client was a little bit worried because I told them that in this space you can't put a water feature because it violates what we call the direct and indirect spirit water placement guideline, and that's another whole different chapter. But so she was a little bit, you know, a little bit concerned that she can't put a water feature there. And I had to actually, this case is not uncommon at all. So I had to tell my client that, look, even though we're not putting a water feature in your home, it doesn't mean you can't activate for money. You can activate money by making sure, especially if you're still building your home, which is why if any of you guys are watching right now and you're at the blueprint stage or you're still at the early beginning construction stage of your home, this is the best time to have it Feng Shui, because you wanna, that's the best time for you to make sure you have a Feng Shui door, right? You know, so that's one way to do it. You can activate money with the proper door. You can activate money with the proper stove. Again, if you're in the construction phase, you can tap into this, like having a stove that's facing the money direction. That way, you know, obviously, especially if you use the kitchen a lot, then, you know, using the stove a lot, you're activating the right energies, and having the stove facing money direction, you're activating money while you're cooking and making meals for your family, right? And there's also been situations where I've had consultations with my clients and they have really bad stove placement. Let me backtrack a little bit. I actually have a call in 15 minutes, so I have to make this short. Why is a stove related to your money? Now, the stove is literally where you feed your family, okay? That's your sustenance, that's your abundance, that's your prosperity. So that's why the stove placement is so important in Feng Shui. So when you have a Feng Shui that's facing money, that helps you in activating money, obviously. I've had situations where the house is already built, or maybe my clients are only renting the house. They can't renovate because they don't own the house. Then in that case, I tell them to use a mobile stove. I mean, it's not great, you know, I know it feels a little bit weird, but at least with the mobile stove, they are able to use that stove that's facing money. And I can tell you, my clients who are willing to do that, they definitely see a shift. So again, they're not using water. In this case, they're actually using the stove to activate for money. Now, your bed placement is another way to activate for money. And how we do it, and the way, that's the thing. I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking me, okay, so how do I place the stove? How do I place my door? How do I place my bed? I can't tell you until I look at your layout, to be honest with you. Okay, it's like you asking a brain doctor, like if you have a brain tumor, you're asking the doctor to slice into your brain. He can't tell you where he's going to cut until he actually does a scan of the brain, right? Same thing with me. I need to do a scan of your home, and that usually requires a consultation with me, right? But I'm just telling you, this is how I work with my clients. So if you are working with other Feng Shui consultants who don't know these things, walk away. They're likely doing fast food Feng Shui. So with the bed placement, you want to make sure that the bed has what we call a good sitting and a good facing, meaning how is so you're lying down on your bed. The sitting is the direction that your head is pointing, and the facing is when you get up, what direction are you facing? This is based on Advanced Flying Star Feng Shui, which none of the English books have covered that I have seen. And in fact, I wanted to show you something that is a little bit, something that most Feng Shui enthusiasts probably, actually very, very likely have not been exposed in terms of classical Feng Shui, is the wealth mouth of your bed. So give me a second here. Oops. Okay, so you guys are gonna see me draw. Okay, perfect. So I guess you're seeing my iPhone here. So I'm going to draw a couple of things for you. This is what we mean by tapping into the wealth mouth of your bed. Again, you're not using water to activate, you're using bed placement. This is based on 6 methods Feng Shui, or the Liu Fa that I got certified by the Grandmaster just end of last year. So imagine this is your room, okay? Then we look at, well, obviously there are directions, right? North, south, this is west, this is east. Don't mind my writing, I'm just writing on my iPhone, northeast, okay? So again, first you look at the flying star, which I'm not gonna cover here, but let's say this is your bedroom door. How I help my clients activate for money with their bed positioning, first with Advanced Flying Star, let's say I say, okay, your bed needs to go here, okay? That happens to be tapping into the money direction of your home, okay? So that's Flying Star. But then, based on the 6 methods Feng Shui, I actually give my clients 15 degrees on the compass. So to tell them the direction between the middle of their door to the middle of their bed. There's a specific calculation for this. So they actually have to measure the middle of their bed to the middle of their door to see if it fits into the 15 degrees that I gave them. That is, ladies and gentlemen, wealth mouth, based on 6 methods Feng Shui. Obviously there's a ton of calculation that goes into it, but the main point of this video is to really illustrate to you guys that there is so many ways of activating for money that fast food Feng Shui does not tell you. In fact, they don't even know all these things. They're not even like covering any of the, superficial, above and beyond any superficial stuff, okay? So this is what we call the wealth mouth. So And other things that you can do, again, this is depending on, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any Facebook comments here. Other things that you can do once you figure out your 3 money corners, you can activate with moving objects. Like, you know, here in Toronto, it's starting to get hot. I put my fan where the money energy is for the year, and even better if the money energy happens to be there for the month as well. So I put my fan there, it's constantly moving, and it's activating money for me. Hey guys, hey Crystal, Eric, Tracy, Lisa, welcome, welcome. So I have a consultation call in 10 minutes, so I do need to wrap this up. But I hope this is giving you guys some relief if you're not able to put water to activate financial luck with water in your home. Based on classical feng shui, there are so many other ways for you to tap into that money chi, that money mojo that is in your space. Where is your money mojo? It depends on the facing of your building and the period of your building. Then you can determine where your 3 money corners, or if you're lucky, even your 4th money corners, where they are and how you can activate them. If you want to know more about how to properly figure out 1, where your money corners are, 2, can you activate with water, and 3, can you activate with water and where can you place it? 3, what are the non-water wealth activations that you can use? We definitely go through that in the cheapest way, or the most cost-effective way to work with me is a 1-hour video consultation where I will go through all that with you. Not so much with the 6 methods feng shui, because that's a little bit more advanced. That one I usually just I leave that for the full consultation, because there's more calculations that go into that. But we can definitely do the bed placement, for instance, based on advanced flying star techniques. So if this is something that you would like to explore, I'm going to put up a link where you just click on the link and we can just chat here on Facebook, so you can get to know a little bit more about how I work, what goes into the video consultations, what kind of information that you can expect to receive, what kind of placements that you can, placement recommendations you can expect from a video consult. Then just click on that link, and I look forward to chatting with you guys. But here is one super myth that I hope to break. Like, it's like exploding super myth here is that the myth that that water is the only money activation in feng shui. You guys now know that that is so far from the truth. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you guys. I have about 8 minutes to prepare before I get on a call with my client. I hope to talk to you guys soon.